name's Colleen. Today we're going to talk about personal budgeting. And I can hear you saying, ugh, or no, or geez, that's boring. And you know why I can hear you is because I used to say the exact same thing. But today we're going to talk about it. Why bother? Okay? Why should I have a personal budget? You know, they're time constraining, they're time consuming, and frankly, they're a pain in the butt. Well, I'm going to tell you some reasons why you should have a personal budget. The first one is, counterintuitively, it provides freedom. Freedom from stress, freedom from worry, freedom from anxiety, and most of all, freedom from fighting. Let's assume you're married. Freedom from fighting with your spouse about how money should be spent or how you had spent money. So we're going to also talk about it's going to get you out of debt. And also it's going to provide you a future with the freedom to do what you want with your money. So before I actually get into showing you how to set up a personal budget, I wanted to give you a short little history of why I think this is so important. So my husband and I got married. We were both young, starting out. He was still in school. I had just graduated, got a very low paying job, and we did not make much money. Well, the following year, he graduated with an engineering degree, got a really good starting salary. So we went from nothing to, a pretty decent standard of living. But that also meant we started living beyond our means. Shortly thereafter, we had my first daughter, and one of my favorite things to do was to buy these extravagantly frilly dresses for her. I love to treat her like my little doll and show her off. And at the same time, I like to buy nice clothes for myself. My husband got into fixing up MGs or buying different cars, and basically we just spent more than we were bringing in. We were in debt, and that meant we constantly fought. Life was miserable. Why did you spend that? Well, why can't I have that? And why are we so in debt? And what did you do that for? It was a non-stop fight. And then eventually my husband got called into the ministry, and we took our nice paying income and chopped it in half. And so we had no other choice. I kind of took my bills and threw them on the pastor's desk and said, "You figure it out." But he kind of said, "No, you figure it out." And so for the first time in our married life, we sat down and took a good hard look at where we were at, what we were spending, what was causing the problems. And at the same time, I kind of remembered my mom growing up. We had 7 kids in my family, and my dad, he got by, but it wasn't a great job. So my mom was the master of taking $1 and stretching it into 20. And I remembered when I was young, she used to have this envelope system. And when I was sitting down and trying to figure out how we were going to make this all work, I remembered that system. And so we sat down and we started putting together our first personal or family budget. So that's kind of what I want to show you today, and it's easier than you think. But the first step is the hardest. You have to sit down and take a really hard look at where you're at, how much you owe, who you owe. You can't have the attitude that I had that, well, if I don't see it, it's not there. It's not as bad as I thought. Well, maybe you're right, but chances are you're wrong. So you need to gather everything, all of the creditors you have, everything you owe, and get it all into one place. The easier part is gather all your income, okay? So I've kind of started that here. So you're gonna list your income on one side and all of your fixed expenses on the other side. The income, of course, is your salary, If you do anything outside of your regular job to earn money, that goes here. If you expect, gifts from your parents on a regular basis, that should go here. Basically, any kind of money that you've got coming in should go on this side. And anything that is fixed that you owe goes on this side. Okay, so we're going to do a fictional one together. So let's assume that every month you bring in $3,000. Okay, that's fixed. You know that's coming in every month. Okay, that's easy. Now we start over here, and we're going to say you have a mortgage payment, and it's $600. Okay, and it's due first of the month. Okay, and then of course you have your car payment. Let's say that's $200, and that's due the 15th of every month. Okay, so basically you're going to put every payment that you owe on this side and when it is due. You have car insurance, and that's $150 a month. Okay, and that's due at the end of the month. Okay, you're going to have utilities. And with this, it may not be a fixed amount, but what you need to do is gather your last year of bills and figure out an average. Maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, but as long as the money is there, 1 month it's higher, it's okay, because maybe 2 months from now it's going to be lower. So let's assume you've put together $100 a month and say $50 for consumers. So that's electricity, and that's consumers. Okay, and they're due the first of the month. Okay, let's say you have a credit card. You've got your Visa, and your payments are $150 a month. And they are also due the first of the month. Okay, so you have to gather everything here. Every expense every bill that you have needs to be listed over here. Okay, so then the next step is to add these up. Okay, the total of your expenses is $1,250 per month. And that's assuming you have everything listed there. Generally, that's going to be a little higher. Okay, but as long as you have everything there, now you have a total from which to work. Okay, so what do we do next? The next step is to make a list of everything else that you spend money on. Absolutely everything that you possibly spend money on per month. And it should be prioritized. So the most important thing you're going to spend money on, hopefully, is food. And then, of course, gas. And that would include anything you use for transportation, gas for your car, or if you're riding public transportation or whatever, you need to get to work. So that needs to be up there. Clothing. That needs to be on there. Big, huge one that I guess I should have listed first is savings. And the recommended amount for savings is 6%. So you should look at your total of $3,000, and 6% of it you should be saving $50 a month. Yep. Or am I 500? Yeah, let's see. 3,000 times 0.06. Oh, $180. Okay, so we're going to write that one right away. Can you grab my envelopes, please? Thank you. Other things that you're going to spend money on. Gifts. And then I always make a separate one because it's so big, Christmas. And other things might be having a night out with your husband. Or just eating out in general. Other things could be your car repairs. If you don't have them now, you eventually will. You should be saving for them. And that, of course, is home repairs as well. Okay, so you get the picture. Anything that you possibly spend money on should go here. Maybe you want to have a personal amount that, it's yours to spend. You don't have to account for it. You can spend it however you want. That should go on here. If you tend to go to the gym should be on there. Ladies, we should have things like, if you like to have your hair done, you should have that on there. My husband likes to go running, so he's got running shoes. And then, of course, we all eventually like to take a vacation. So that should be on there too. And then you should always have what's called a miscellaneous category, because things will pop up that you just don't account for, but you've got to have money to pay for them. For example, I realized the other day I need new dance shoes. Well, I didn't really have a budget for dance shoes, so it could come out of here or it could come out of my personal amount. Okay, so now you start assigning some values to each of these. How much do you think you'd spend per month in groceries? Maybe $500, okay? If you live close to work, or if you're not spending a whole lot on gas, or depending on how far you are, you need an amount here. So let's say $100 a month for gas. Clothing, I tend to say $50 a month should be plenty for me, anyway. And then I like to give gifts. I've got a big family. We have sisters that we exchange gifts, and my kids' birthday's coming up, or just whatever. Charitable giving should be in there. So let's say $200. Gotta save for Christmas. It comes every year. Unless you are Scrooge and you don't participate, you gotta have money for Christmas. You gotta go out once in a while, keep that marriage strong. So let's say $50. Car repairs. Depending on how old your car is, this might have to be more. If it's new, it might have to be less, but let's just average, let's guess $50. Same for home repairs. Personal. Let's say $40 per couple, per person, so that becomes $80. Maybe your gym membership is $20 a month. Ladies, maybe you can go once every 2 months to get your hair done, and it's going to be $40. Things like my husband's running shoes. We'll say $40 a month. Vacation. Maybe at the end of the year we'll have $1,200 and we can take a decent vacation. And then miscellaneous, let's just say $50. Okay? So we put everything that we possibly spend money on, or maybe want to spend money on, and we assign it a value. So again, we had the amount from last time of what we already know we have to spend was $1,250. And this is what we bring home. $3,000. So what do we have to work with here? We have $1,850. And this is called your spendable income. Okay? So, let's see how well we did. Did we fit all of this within our $1,850? And guess what? Our total is $1,710, which means we still have $140 per month. Okay? Do not leave money floating around like that. Give it a name. Give it a value. Otherwise, poof, it disappears into thin air and you have no idea where it went. So you can either increase the amount that you're spending on one of these amounts or add some more categories. If I look at some of my categories that are not on there, we could put things like, okay, a health savings account. We'll put $100 in there, and that still leaves $40. Okay, so if you have children, let's say your kids needs school things or whatever, so kids. Okay, so now every dollar is accounted for, every dollar has a name, every dollar knows where it's going. Okay, so once you have all of your money assigned, every dollar has its name, you're going to divide it into whenever you get paid. For example, like this example has 2 paychecks a month, so it would say week 2 and week 4. If you get paid every week, you would have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. If you get paid monthly, then it's just one simple column. All right, so as you can see, I divided it into 1,500 and 1,500. And the first thing you do is take out all of your expenses, that list of things we had at the beginning. For example, your mortgage, your car payment, your insurance, and on and on and on. So those things get taken out first. So you can see I took rent and I divided it between both paychecks. It's just a little easier to manage that way, so that one paycheck isn't got a big chunk out of it right from the beginning. So I have $300 for rent. I guess that would be your house payment, house and house. And then the car payment, since it's due the 15th, we're going to have it taken out of the very first paycheck you get of the month. And then your utilities, $150, they're due the first of the month, so this is your paycheck right before the first of the month. And I also took savings out and your Visa payment. Total those up, you get $820 for week 2 and $900 in week 4 left over. So if you have automatic deposit, $680 stays in your account week 2, $600 stays in your account week 4. You need to withdraw $820 in cash week 2, $900 in cash week 4. And we'll talk about why cash later, so hang on to that thought. So then we do the exact same thing with your spendable amounts. We start with your cash amount, $820. First thing I do is take off the priorities, your food. You got to have that. $250, the total, remember we decided was $500. And all the way down, I divide them up. Christmas is on week 2 and Christmas is on week 4. You can divide them up however you want, but at the end of each total, it's got to come to 0. Okay? So once you've got this all figured out, then you go to your envelopes. And I will show you, for example, mine. These are my week 4 envelopes, and these are my week 2 envelopes. And the way I like to set it up, you can set it up how you want, but this seems to work the best for me. I write the week at the top right corner, what it's for and how much. And then I also write it in big letters in the middle and how much. That is because I like to, as you can see, keep them together. And I don't have to separate them. All I have to do is flip through, oh, there's groceries. Pull it out, I've got it. Okay? The reason I put the amount on there is so that when you get your big chunk of cash, you know exactly how to divide it up. Okay, so I've got both weeks settled. I go to the bank, I get my cash, I distribute the money how we've already agreed on it, and then we live this way the rest of the month. It takes a little bit of forethought. You can't just go out and have a night out with your husband without your envelope. Okay, so this system has worked for my husband and I for many years. I've taught my kids this method. I've taught many friends this method. It's extremely freeing. There's no arguing anymore about how we're going to spend our money. It's here, it's allotted, go spend it. No guilt, no arguing. So again, I told you we're going to talk about why cash and why not just use your debit card. Well, there's a couple different reasons. The first of all is they've done psychological studies and they've proven that it's much harder to spend money if you have to physically hand over cash. You're handing it over, you're making that conscious effort to spend that money. And so therefore it cuts down on a lot of impulse buying. Okay, so the first reason is it's harder to spend. You're not going to go out and just get your $5 Starbucks if it's not in here. The third reason is that, when it's gone, you're done. For example, I went grocery shopping last night and I had $240 allotted and I spent $160. So this is all I have left for next week grocery shopping. I better plan carefully of what we're going to eat for the next week, because when this is gone, we're done shopping. But it also means there's money in here, I can go shopping again. Okay, so it's a very concrete example of when I can spend and when I can't. Okay, it's very easy to see, so you will not be overspending. Also, it teaches us a very important character lesson, and that is that we delay gratification. Our society has how many billions of dollars in personal debt? It's because we have not learned the value of delaying gratification and waiting, saving for something, and then going and buying it. My husband and I lived in China for 8 years. It's a cash society. That society has learned you save, you wait, then you buy. Most people in China are not in debt. They make major purchases, including buying apartments or cars, with cash, because they've learned this lesson. We don't spend tomorrow's money today. We spend today's money today. Okay, so finally, I wanted to reiterate that even though it seems like a pain in the butt, and I guess, initially setting it up it is, in the end, it's so much more freeing. Like I said at the beginning, no more fighting, no more stress, no more worry about you wrote the check at the grocery store, or you use your debit card, is it going to bounce? Are you going to get the late fees because you have not saved in order to have the payment? It's so freeing. I can't stress enough how freeing it is to have some kind of system in place. I did a little bit of research as far as, how important it is to have financial security in a marriage. According to one study, they did it at NC State University, the statistics they found was 55% of marriages before the age of 30 end in divorce because of financial problems, financial stress, financial arguing. It ends 55% of younger, especially younger marriages. So if you want a strong marriage, get a system in place. And it's also a way to make your money work for you rather than you working for your money. I know exactly where I'm spending it, I know where it's going, and I know where it's going to go. And also, maybe I'm weird, but to me, this is fun. It's fun deciding what do we get to spend our money on. Money's not endless, unless you're a millionaire. If you're a millionaire, you don't need this. But it's fun to decide in the future. Look, next month, I'm going to have $120 to go clothing shopping. Woo! But it was because we started saving, started planning. And one final thing I need to say is that this constantly has to be revised. You may think you have it in place, and then you figure out, oh, I forgot something. For example, I'm putting this together, and guess what? I didn't include phone in there. Every single one of us has cell phones, we have internet. Those expenses are not in here. So you need to go back and, maybe I can't have $100 for gifts because I need that $100 for a phone. You have to constantly revise. And another way to revise it, for example, this past month, I took a look at our bill for both our phones and our internet and TV, and I saw that they were getting outrageous. So I called the company. I said, look, this is ridiculous. I'm not spending $300 a month for phone and internet and TV. If you can't give me a better deal, cancel it. I'll find someone who can. And she said, no, wait. And for just 20 minutes on the phone, I got that bill cut in half. And so that was another $150 that, woohoo, I can allocate somewhere else. If you're someone that's, really far in debt and you're looking at a way to get out, maybe you can call your creditors. Sometimes they're willing to negotiate with you. If you set up an automatic deduction from your savings or your checking account to pay their bills, sometimes they'll take some of that amount you owe off. So it just depends. You call, you be proactive, because in the end, it's all about the money that you get to spend. So I hope this has been helpful. Tweak it however you want. I'd love to hear from you. If you've got better ideas or something that you found that worked, or if this works for you. It's worked for me. I think it's worked for my family. So thanks again for listening. Bye.